You know what I mean? It's like it's supposed to be like that. So that's what I say. So you can tell. And the thing is, it's not for everybody. Nothing is for everybody, but it's like when they do those shows with is he here? Is he on?
Hey, he's here.
Oh, I can't see. I'm on the other screen. I gotta flip screens. This when I'm on the iPad is different when you go to the other screen, man. Let me see. Select to gallery view. There we go. Now we got it. I used to swipe it on my. I did on my phone. Now I'm on my iPad. Woo! Switched it up. What's going on? Oh, look at the picture, man. Woo!
It looks good, eh? Hey, let me tell you something. Good, one of the best things is to come in the middle of a conversation and hearing it unfold. So
it's like when you know what it's like when you listen to talk radio, and I know you've done those interviews, and and you're on the phone, and before you hear the conversation before you come in, it's just like that. I love that.
But you know what? You know what? I'm going to tie this in right now because I'm going to do a quick intro right now, and I'm going to say welcome back to the Northern Touch show. This is part 2 with Audley, the Oddman Stephenson. Welcome back to our show. You just caught us in on a conversation that you walked into that Thrust and I were having. We were talking about having the power of the mind to actually make sure that you can do certain things. And we were talking about our diet and our exercise and our routines and what we do, and saying that, you know, it's not all physical. You got to think, you know, we have people say to us all the time, like, I don't know how you do it. I said, today I'm at 38,000 steps for the day, which is a good total. And people say, I don't know how you can do that. And it's like, you know what? Because I push myself with my head, with my mind.
And you have a goal.
Yeah. And there's a goal there, right?
And you have a routine, you have a goal.
Yeah.
And you have like an attainable goal. That's one of my trainers always told me, big up Nadia, she love me. Chris, do you always remember? But it's true. She goes, set smart, attainable goals, man. Absolutely. So you don't get discouraged. People just like, they go, I gotta work out there, and then I gotta go run 5 miles a day. Dude, you haven't moved in 30 years. How are you gonna go and do, like, you know what I mean? So maybe you say, okay, you haven't moved in like 10 years. You say, you know what?
Yeah.
3 days a week, here's this goal anybody can do. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna walk around my block, which is maybe whatever, or to the park or whatever, and back 3 times a week for a month. I'm gonna do that. And every time, but here's how I used to keep track. Here's a good one. I used to always take a calendar, and she taught me this, and put like an X. And it was so inspirational. It sounds so corny probably, but it worked. I took my calendar, put it up on the wall on those monthly calendars, and I had one line for like active, right? And I had another line for when I ate right. Yeah. And I did that for a year. I think I stole the calendar, which was big enough for the show, man. I kept it for. It was cool because I had months where I was like, the X's started looking good. You didn't want to lose your X, man, if you got to the X part, because after a while you start getting X's.
Well, what it does, it motivates you, right?
Yeah, self-motivate.
So going back to the original statement you made about the power of the mind, and it's a mindset, and sometimes we gotta help our mind by doing these little things like, you know, making these attainable goals. I remember once speaking to a professional speaker friend of mine who talked about how he jogged every day. But he didn't start off as a jogger. He started off by putting on his shoes. So what he used to do, he'd put on his shoes, he'd walk to his corner of the block and come back. And then every day he'd go a little bit further, and he'd go a bit further, and he started walking faster, and he started jogging, and next thing you know, he's running. So to your point, Thrust, you're building on your successes, and that's why I'm such a big fan of giving ourselves credit for our wins, credit for everything that we do. Because that's what fuels you, that's what motivates you, and that's what gets you going, okay, I did this yesterday, tomorrow I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do, right? You know, I remember once I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, I was in my, so when I turned my early 40s, and I don't think I've ever confessed this openly in a public forum like this before, but when I was a kid, I didn't learn how to ride a bike. I just didn't.
Wow.
I just for whatever reason, I just
didn't jumped over it. Somehow.
And it didn't happen. And then the thing what happens is, as you get older, you just get accustomed and used to the fact that I don't do that. I don't do that. And then you become an adult, you're like, well, I'm an adult now. I don't do that. And so it was never a part of my makeup. And it was never anything I just questioned. It wasn't anything I ever wondered about. I just accepted it as I just don't do that. And I remember getting in my early 40s, I was like, why don't I do that? Like, why can't I bike ride? So I went out and I bought myself a bike, and I started teaching myself how to bike ride. And what happened is it was such a crazy sort of surreal experience, because the one of the things I had done, I'd gone back to the old neighborhood I grew up. So I grew up in Regent Park. Then we moved to the West End.
You grew up in Regent Park, man?
Yeah,
Parker, man?
Yeah. For a minute when I was really young. That's where we grew. That's where
wow.
I was born there. Man. By the time I was like 9 or 10, we moved out west. So I was like Lansdowne, Bloor, that whole West End. That was all mine, right? But so I went back there, and these streets that I grew up in, that's where I was learning how to bike ride. And it was such a surreal experience, because
that's crazy.
You're like, oh my gosh, these streets I used to walk up in, and now I'm bike riding as an adult. And then something happened. I kept going, and I started looking for reasons where instead of driving, I biked, and I biked, and I biked, and I was literally a fanatic. And I couldn't. There weren't enough places in the city I couldn't bike to. I remember that summer was the summer of 2013. I got up one day and I said, you know what? I'm going to ride to Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Wow.
And I got on my bike and I rode to Niagara-on-the-Lake. It was the longest bike ride I had ever gone on. I left at like 6:30 in the morning in Toronto.
Beautiful.
And headed. I got there at like 10 o'clock at night. And part of the reason why it took me so long is I was very much enjoying the journey. So I'd get off and I'd talk to people on the trail. There's some fascinating people that are out there.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Audley, to join in. You are me, but I'm like, I did it way younger. My dad used to be race bikes. So I've been riding bicycles since I was like small. I'm the reverse of you in a sense, but I know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But it spawned me to do a bunch of other things which I never did, right? Like from bikes, like did it lead you to something else? Because from bikes I went to rollerblading. From rollerblading, I snowboard. I've been snowboarding 15 years. Blue Mountain, 15 years, 5x7. As time, there's so many different things. I've been swimming since I was a bit young. And one thing about brothers, we usually don't get exposed to a lot of stuff, depending on our community, our parents, and how we brought up. So there's a lot of things. And some of us, and then some of us just the stereotype. Oh, I've been skating. You skate? Like I can play hockey. I got a pair of tags 2 years ago for Christmas. I've been skating since I was 5. Yeah, it's just when you do that one thing, it's like it just forwards you.
Well, that's the point I'm making, right? Like you sort of build on that. And so when you talk about celebrating your successes, you give yourself credit for everything you do, because that's what you can build on to take yourself to that next level, right? So
the fact of saying sorry to get to was the best part of your stories, which I can relate to, is when you go on those journeys. And you meet people and you stop along the way. And it's not like, it's like the bike. Yeah, I'm on the bike. Like it's like the ride disappears. It's just all joy. Like before you to look at the bike, you wouldn't think about a bike. And you get to this point now, I went to Niagara Falls and came back. We have a bicycle gang. You want to join our bicycle gang? We actually have a bicycle gang, not a bike gang. It's called Heaven's Devils.
Okay.
It's me, Dan Carr, Gramps, Big Nick. It's like 15 of us, and the last few summers, like from 2010, 2008, we formed it. And in the summer when everybody's free, we meet downtown Toronto. Tom, I know you could join the bike too. Bring your bicycles. All you got to do, and we go on bike rides all summer.
I'm telling you.
And we freak people out, brothers, 15, 20, Brazilian, blah, what, and we roll up on bike. And so adults are talking about like now. Yeah, man. So when are you ready? Let's go riding, man. Right. Let's go for a ride. We got to go when the weather changes.
No, it's a night. I'm telling you, it was such a liberating feeling, that whole experience. And again, I want to tie it back to the mindset. That was the first point that we made, right? Because it's our mindset that causes us to make all sorts of great achievements. It starts up here, the way we think about ourselves, how we see ourselves, what we believe about ourselves. All of these things are contributing factors to the most successful things that we can do in our lives.
Yeah, I'm glad we went to that conversation like that. We were having that conversation, and then you came in at that point in that conversation, because I know it was going to tie into the motivation part, and I know you do a lot of motivation speaking.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of the listeners for this podcast and for Pod Jerky, they know the health stuff that I've gone through in the past few years.
Yeah.
And I started walking when I returned to work, and it would be like, a half an hour walk here, and it would be like, okay, I feel good and this is good, and now I'm leaving my house at 4:00 in the morning, and my wife thinks I'm absolutely nuts, but I was like, I walk 2 hours before I even get into the building. So it is all about the mindset, and you're right, you push yourself a little more and more every day. So today I walk, say, 10 kilometers, tomorrow I'm going to walk 12 kilometers, and the next day I'm going to walk 13. So it is all in the mind, and it's a mindset that you have to have.
I break it down to, I remember, well, I was going to say Kobe Bryant, but I heard Michael Jordan even talk about how easy it is to score, 30 points a game. He breaks it down by quarters, right?
Yeah.
And so when you think about like that, you're like, okay. And I think that approach can serve us so well in other aspects of our lives. Just break things down. You said simple,
it's true. And you can attain. It's this thing about single. Even when I take beats for songs, I got crazy producers, and you can ask all of them all over. But one key to my whole thing through music 30 years, I never get flustered, is I only take one song at a time and I finish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've done 3 albums in the last few months. You know how? One song a day. But that's my goal. A song or a verse or a song a day. Just one. Yeah. Why can't you do that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not asking a lot. It's not like, oh, I got to work up. But when you do that and you amass that, now look within 6 months, a year, what you have there, right? Now you're going back in the cupboard and looking, okay, what am I going to, right? And that's how you get to things, and then you can put big things together, right? And it's a small little, and then like you said,
what's that saying? What's that saying? They say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right?
Yep. But the other thing I remember, Nadia, she's the best trainer ever do. I love her. She's not training anymore. I think she might be back into it, but she moved on to other things. But she used to always say too, is, remember, Chris, every day your 100% is going to be different. That's another thing. So acknowledge your energy when you wake up in the day. Like today, I felt great. I think a lot of people feel great. Today was a great day. Everyone had energy. Yeah, so I can give a little, it's more gas in the tank. So when I'm giving, right? And that's a lot of people. But you're only supposed to give 85% of your energy when you train, right? You can't just blow it all out in one thing. How are you going to go home and be a father to your kids? How are you going to get in your car and drive it?
Right.
So just the management and stuff, that's still the attainable goal. And just know your energy level and know what you give in and be accountable to yourself. And if you want to give yourself a day off, that's good too. But just acknowledge it too. That's the other thing too. Like if my eating, I've been doing this for like 12 years, and ask anyone knows me, I have 1 day a week I eat whatever I want. And it just made it so easy for me. Why can't I go 6 days? Sunday, this is my football day or whatever. I just sit down. Hey, man, watching the boys in the morning. If I want chips, this, that. You know what I mean? And you don't even kill it, but when you do it, there's no guilt. That's the thing. You have no guilt because you planned it.
That's right. And
if I got to move it to Saturday, I do it for the weekends on the Friday, Saturday. If I plan, I'm going to buy Tom's, going to have some beers, have a couple drinks, whatever, blazing, then it's fine because I planned that too. So I can go hard. But I don't even go hard really because right?
That's right.
It's just that thing. And you can do that over a long period of time.
Unbelievable.
And you can be proud of yourself all the way through. And that's the thing. You want to be proud of yourself. You want to look in the mirror. Other people can't make you proud as much as they tell you that you're great. That's the thing about life. We're in our own heads, man.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And all what you're saying, I agree with wholeheartedly. The other thing I want to add is just around when we talk about making these goals and these SMART goals, right? They have to be we have to be realistic in what we're setting, right? You're not gonna do 10 miles in 1 day when you haven't done 10 in 10 years, right? So they got to be realistic, and that's why, again, going back to that building up one step at a time sort of mindset or approach. That's why that's so valuable.
So while we're on the topic of motivation, you do motivational speaking. You go into schools and you talk to students. Is this something that you tell the students as well? Like, I know a lot of students now are like, they want the instant success. They want, you know, everything to happen right now. How do you convey to them that, you know, this is something that's an attainable goal, but you got to work towards it and, you know, motivate yourself towards working towards that goal?
The piece to understand is that, and you guys are going to get this, right, you know, connect with this right away, but life is a journey. It's a process, right? You don't wake up today and you arrive. You know, sometimes you have to endure and go through experiences to get to the point that you're at, because ultimately, you know, we individually are here as a result of a collection of experiences, right? Yep. We didn't just wake up and all of a sudden, and some of those experiences have been positive and some of them are perceived negative. And I say perceived negative because even the bad things that happen, there's things that we can take out of that and build on and grow from or learn or develop. So I think the first and foremost, life is a process, an ongoing journey. So when you make that first step or you make that first leap into whatever it is that you're doing, it's important to understand that it's happening for a specific reason. And in that moment, it may not make sense, but it will at some point. There's an expression that says, life, when you live life forward, it's an art. But when you stop and look back at it, it's a science, right? So everything, when you look back, like, so in the moment, you're like, why is this happening? Okay, I'll go here. Or why did that happen? Let me try that. Oh, and there's something else. Okay, let me go there. But then when you stop and you look back, you literally can connect the dots. And you see, oh, I had to do that because if I didn't do that, then I couldn't do this. And if I didn't do this, I couldn't get over here. And if I didn't get over there, then I couldn't have this happen to me. So it's a real, very much understanding that everything that you go through has a specific purpose. It may not make sense in that moment, but it will at some point. So going back to when you look at the original question, you know, it's not going to be an overnight success. There are processes. And even those instances when people seem, because it does happen, right? You'll see people go, oh my gosh, so-and-so got this, or so-and-so got that. Well, a couple points on that. One, you don't know what kind of work so-and-so did to get to where they got to. You're just seeing what's on the surface. You have no idea the blood, the sweat, the tears, the prayers. You've got no idea what went on prior to them getting to that point. And the other piece about this to understand is your journey is yours and mine is mine. We're not on the same path. And that's really important to understand. We can't compare ourselves to one another because when you start to look, so if we're all on an individual path, so when I start to veer away from where I'm going, and I'm right here, I'm away. I lose track of where I'm going. So it's really important that path is my path and yours is yours.
Yeah. And you know, it was interesting talking about the experiences because in high school, my friends and I had a saying and it was enroll and it was NROLE. And we would say there are never like no regrets, only learning experiences. And that was kind of the acronym for it. And that's kind of like the way that we look at life is, you know, I'm learning from every experience that I go through. I'm adjusting to that experience that I have, like that just happened, and then making the changes that I need to make in order to get to where I want to be.
I love it. And
those so-called negative experience. Like I had this. That's my year this year. My year this year, I went through like this guy. Anyone knows me? Like two crazy car crashes. Was my fault. Lucky to be alive. Boom. Ended up in the craziest ride I never thought I'd imagine it. It's mine. It's taken care of. It's paid off right now. Boom. But that was between two. And there was I went through like crazy things, whatever. Boom. Landed two other big little things that everyone's gonna know about. Like it's just been. But the one thing I always learned, and I learned it because my record came out on 9/11, and that was a big lesson for me, right? Me and a few other people. And I learned it from young, from like just being around Dream Warriors, Maestro, Rumble, Sunshine, all these people influenced me. Ron Nelson, all when I was my mentors, they always said like, don't, because I seen them when I saw other people when they were at the height. You know what I mean? I was even with Kish when he was. All the other artists before me, even before I was always with them. And I seen it, the highs, the lows in between. So I just always learned, never get too high or too low.
Yeah.
Because when the good thing is happening, we have a tendency to get all too high. It's like the lottery where they the confetti, right? And when the bad thing is happening too, we all get all like the victim, right? But the way to deal with both of what I've learned right away is react to the both. Yes. Yeah. Take it in for what it is.
Absolutely.
But deal with it.
Yeah.
Like the negative, deal with it as best you can and move on, be accountable, but we'll move on. And somehow it's going to work out if you do that right away. Step right up. Take all the responsibility. Yeah. Take all of the 100%. Okay, I got to wear this right now. I mean, right away. Don't even let the 2 hours pass. Go home and feel sorry for yourself. No. And when the good thing happened, hey, man, like Primo played me last week. Okay, there's an example. Okay, Primo happy. That's good. Oh, excited. Put it back. Okay, that's it. It's done. I'm on.
Yes. I was saying.
I acknowledge. I know it's good. I feel great. I'm just going to take that little bit of energy now. I'm just going to work on another song. And okay, I'm just on the right path. Boom. But I'm not going on Instagram. Go, yeah, y'all see me, man. Yeah, he played that, man. You know all the stuff that you can do a million stuff with that. Like,
absolutely.
But no, just always keep and that will just lead you on your true path. And that's what I think we want to find. I think people like you said, we're all trying to find our true path. So like my friends, we all do the same thing. I can live what you say. And a lot of my friends are music, but our past is so diverse.
Yeah.
Even when we talk every day and we all do music.
No, I would say, and I think is really important, is when we go through a situation or an experience, don't deny yourself that emotion. That emotion is
of course, yeah,
right.
Of course,
own that emotion, right? Don't I'm not going to feel this way. If you need to be mad or you need to be upset or you need to cry or whatever, let that emotion go. Don't hold on to it.
Exactly.
The point I would make though is don't stay there. That's the key.
Did you ever see the video about the samurais?
Which one's that?
I saw a video a couple weeks ago on YouTube. I'll try and find it later for you guys. But that's like how they are, and you see how they move. It's like a stoicness about it. It's a oneness of energy. It's some cheat. Don't get too high or low at any moment. Like you said, absorb what it is. Of course, it's human. We're here for the experience. But in that second, absorb and then move on. It's like that's a pretty flower. Smell it. Like, oh, look at the other. Go on to you see what I'm saying? And then, like you said, then you said later, at the end of our day, we're gonna look back at that. When we wake up and go, oh, wow. And that's the time. Put the whole, it's like a film. It's a movie. We're making life's a movie, man. And we're directing. So at the end, look back and put the film, run in the projector. At least the end of the day. What do we gather now? Instead of stopping right.
I love it.
And then we just harness on one thing the whole day. You know what stuff you block out when you just harness on one thing for the whole day?
Think about it this way. So first of all, there's an expression I used to say all this quite often is I don't have bad days, I have bad moments, right? So something happens to you in that moment, great. It doesn't ruin the day. So picture this as an example. You're driving into work. You're in your car, you're driving to work. Someone cuts you off. You get angry. You get upset. Are you mean to tell me at 5 o'clock later that day you're still going to be mad because the guy cut you off? No. Right? You let it go and you move on. That's what we have to do with these experiences that happen to us. Accept them for what they are. Acknowledge them. Don't deny that they're not there. Don't pretend they don't exist. Let the emotions run their course, but don't stay there. Move on to the next one. Because, there's always going to be another challenge, right? It's almost like, say you're walking down the street one day and you stub your toe, right? Your toe hurts, you're in pain, right? You go on your journey, you bump your elbow, okay? You're still holding on to your toe, but now you got your elbow to deal with. You go on, you hit something else. Now you're dealing with all these things all at once. Like, move through it. Don't own it. Don't claim it. Don't make that your permanent residence. Acknowledge it, accept it, and move on to the next step.
Yeah, because people are in their own worlds. Half the time, they don't even know what you do. You just look crazy. Like they don't even. When that guy cut you half the time, they don't even know you were there.
Yeah. Well, and
see what I'm saying? That's why they did it.
And that's a funny thing about it.
Sometimes I catch myself in the mood. I see the guy. Sorry, don't worry, buddy. And you just feel the good energy. You move on. Because a lot of times it's just that's what it is. So you just, you know what I mean. Or a lot of time you're just late.
Yeah.
You're charging because you didn't leave early enough. And that's on you. But you're putting on the car in front of you. I seen a car driving today. It was so silly. It's like an example of people just weird energy.
Yeah.
There's a school bus, man. I'm driving. School bus, like a small school bus. So I'm driving to work. There's another van in front of me, a worker van, a white van. And then there's a school bus in front. So the school bus goes, there's a stop. I go, why is this guy so close? It looks like somebody's stopping in the corner. He drives right up on the van. He stops, lets the kids on the van, and you realize, okay, then he's still tailing the van, the school bus. I'm like, this is crazy. This guy must be late. So the school bus makes a right at the next light. I got to drive this guy another like mile and a half. You know, the guy was doing 70 after that.
Wow.
I'm in my car. Yo, my car. I don't put my stuff out there, but Tom know what I'm talking about. I'm in my car, and I had all the power to press the button. My car moved. Yeah, I don't know much cars go past me on the road. Not much. My truck, I should say. I put it like that. Yo, man, and I said, and I looked. I had that thought, Chris, why'd you go around that guy? Say they were talking about, and I just said, nah, Chris. You're gonna be just the same as him.
But right. I think that's what Audley was referring to, right?
But I had them, and I said, you know what? I pulled back. I did I just sat behind the idiot, and he pulled it, and I just drove this one around.
But yeah, like that's what Audley.
What am I doing? How am I
referring to?
How am I changing it?
He's like he lets that live in his head, right? Yeah. So that guy is letting that anger live in his head. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then he's going to go to work angry, and he's going to continue to go or wherever he was going, and he's going to be angry the entire day. And that's again, it's inside your head, and it's the mental.
It's so weird picking up like a 5-year-old kid. Like it was so weird. And he could have passed the bus to school. There's a long dude. There's like 3. I could have went around it. No, he just fought. And then the thing passed. He just slowed back down, driving weird. People are, I don't even know, man. But anyways, as long as some of us know and some of us are accountable for our thoughts, well, it is. And try to have accountability, it's a good thing.
And right? I think too, using the example, go back to the example of driving last time, and I'll leave it alone because we talked about driving. But using the example of driving, someone, and Thrust you referred to, right? Someone cuts you off unknowingly. They've forgotten about it, and you're still holding on to it. You're living with that. That's impacting your day. That's impacting your interactions with people. Just play it through. So over the course of the day, we're all going to meet. Say you're meeting someone for the very first time, right? And what they're meeting is someone who's angry about what happened to them that morning, and their very first impression of you is you're an angry guy, as an example.
Yeah.
All because of something happened to you that no longer is relevant.
Yeah.
We can't do that to ourselves.
Look in the mirror, man. Try to.
We can't.
Look in the mirror, man. It's funny how it works, man. But it's out there, and it's it's the young. What's the saying? Bend the branch when it's young.
Yeah.
So you have to learn that from a very young age. Yeah. And that's what we got to instill, right?
But you can learn it as an adult too, right?
No, you can learn, but adults are just more comfortable with what they know. So I'm just saying, right? Yeah. But the ones that will actually absorb. Yeah, right. I think that's what I'm saying. So we don't stop. We're not going to stop. You know what I'm saying? What I'm just saying, it's just the older you get, the more time you spend, you don't want to fall. Because we're supposed to walk, fall, get them. The Tribe cover. I never understood it for a while till later. Tribe Called Quest, when they had those stick figures, and I figured it out once. I go, it's like evolution, and that's how kids are. Walk, stumble, get up, fall. Walk, stumble, get up, fall. Walk, run to shoot. That's how we are. That's life.
That's right.
If you look at people under 10, they're not afraid of that. My daughter's 9. I've watched it the last little while, and I've been around kids and you see, they cry for 2 seconds. That boom, gone.
Look at a baby learning how to walk.
Yeah.
No fear, no past baggage, not a thought in their mind that I can't do this. They'll get up, they'll fall. What will they do? They'll get up again.
Yeah.
And they'll fall. And how many times, you think a number of times a baby will fall before they actually learn how to walk?
Yeah.
And they'll continually doing it. So they
smile and enjoy it, drooling it up, whatever, man. Right? That's what it is, man. That's why I don't really even whatever. It's like whatever seems down, I say, no, this is good. I'm gonna learn from this. This is what's gonna take me to the top.
That's right.
When you're at the top, you're already there. There's nothing to learn. That's the scary part when you're up high. I've been up there. I'm like, okay, well, where do I go? You don't even know where to go because you're up there.
Yeah.
That's when people say, I heard Nas say it. Someone, I want to be overnight successful. Why do you want to be overnight successful?
Yeah, you're cheating the journey.
Have you ever thought about that? Like people say, I go, do you want that, man? Right now, you want a story to it, man.
Yeah, I don't want to get there right now.
You want a story to it, and you want to grow into it, and you want something to tell.
I don't want to get there right now. I want to know how I got there.
Ask Mike Tyson about that. Mike Tyson is the best example of it, and thank God he's alive and soul, and he went through everything. Because look what happened to Tyson, because he came up with no parents, Then he had his manager. Then he became the youngest champion of the world from out of what? Crown Heights? Was he Crown Heights? Crown Heights? Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
Like at that age, I know, like, you know what I'm saying? And at that age, in the middle of that, the youngest champ, good looking, mind, but millions of dollars at Don King and no pants, no guidance, no nothing. And you see what happened, man. And that's why I love watching his podcast, Hot Boxes, because he's just an open book, he'll tell you, man. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. And people think you can handle it. You can't handle that, man. Even if you have time, it's hard to handle that.
It's true.
Right? Yeah. So you got to be able to wear the crown, man. And it's heavy on the throne, man. It's just heavy on the head, man.
Yeah. So in part one of our interview with you, we talked about your journey from the start to the VP of basketball operations for the National Basketball League of Canada. And we didn't actually get into if you work with any charities or any foundations with the league that helps out anybody in Canada and stuff like that. And the reason I bring this up is because I work in the school system, and Thrust knows about this as well. Is I actually just got in touch with the Jays Care Foundation, and they have a program running where we can do a baseball program for special needs kids and girls, because usually in high school, I don't know how it is in elementary school too much, but in the high schools, it's really hard for the girls to get involved in sports. The sports aren't offered for the girls like they are for the guys. And, you know, a lot of the girls in the hallways we've heard say, you know, this is very hard. Why is it always the boys that get the sports teams? And, you know, that got me thinking. And then I got in touch with Jays Care, and Jay Care's had this whole program running. So do you guys do anything like that helps out with, you know, like females or children that don't usually get to have this kind of, I guess, program offered to them?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a fantastic. So for me, I love the way athletes engage with young people and the kids, because they absolutely, you know, they look at athletes and they want to be there, you know, something to aspire to, a goal, because at one point in time, that athlete was a young child themselves and they had that dream. So I absolutely love the way they give back. With our league doesn't have that specific program. What we definitely do is we spend a lot of time in the schools. And so when we're not playing our games or we're not practicing, we're in schools, and we'll do reading programs. Do a lot of our players will do like motivational talks and, you know, anti-bullying and building confidence, and a variety of programs on the motivational standpoint to help inspire. And we do.
I think Tom froze. Tom, you there? I'm looking at Tom.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you froze.
Okay. That's okay.
I can hear you.
So let's keep going. I just realized, talking with Tom in the same. I'm watching. Okay, let's keep rolling though. Okay, go ahead. Let's keep.
So the point is, we absolutely do have programs that, but more along the lines of motivating young people where they're at in this exact moment, right? And they need that motivation, they need that encouragement, and just limit itself to sports. As Thrust knows, the music industry, the arts, there's all sorts of avenues where young people can get motivation from by having someone to look up to. And so we strongly believe in that. We're a big supporter of giving back to our communities, because we're not just there to play basketball, we're there to be part of the communities in which we exist.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tom, you have anything else to say? You still there?
I'm still here. I don't know why my video is frozen. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you know what? We got to a good point in that you got to a anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was what, because we have, what else you want to, well, I did want to ask one more thing. Like, what's, you know, we talked about charities, talked about motivation, but what's the future of the NBL? Like, what you guys, and what's short term, long term, anything you excited for this? What's up, man?
Well, I'll tell you. We're launching our 10th season this year, so that's for us. It's a really, really big deal, because there hasn't been a professional basketball league in Canada that's been around as long as we have. What I find, and I have a great deal of pride in it, is the fact that you're starting to see a lot of other leagues that are appearing, and a lot of other basketball leagues, and, you know, and Thrust, you know this, man, we're the OGs, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we weren't there,
when you see it, you know, man.
Right? And I'm not.
When you see it, you know.
I say this as humbly as possible. I'm not trying to, but I'm keeping it real at the same time. You know, we had to go through our journeys, and we've certainly had our fair shares of ups and downs, but we laid that pathway out for others to see, okay, here's what's feasible, here's what's possible, here are the potential pitfalls, here's what we'll do differently. And so it's great from a basketball standpoint because the sport is being elevated. Obviously, we know what the Raptors did to put basketball in the forefront on the map, and we're ecstatic for that. And, you know, we just see that as a continued opportunity to grow and build and develop. So for us, 10 years is a big, big deal. We're celebrating in a major way. We have a unique partnership this year. We had to start. So first, I'm gonna go back. We had to start our season a bit later than we normally do. So we kick off February the 5th, whereas usually shortly after Boxing Day is when we get going. But as you know, COVID kind of determined how we live our lives for a minute there.
Of course.
So we had to flip and pivot and change. And so we're starting February the 5th. We've got this really cool partnership with another basketball league in the States called the TBL. And so what's happening is we're playing interleague play between the two leagues. And so some of their teams are going to come here, some of our teams are going to go there.
This is Director Awesome, and unfortunately we did have some audio and video trouble on our Zoom call with Audley, but we just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us on today's episode. This was taken from the Northern Touch Show and is airing on Pod Jerky's podcast. Thank you very much again to Audley, the Oddman Stephenson, who is the Vice President of Basketball Operations for the National Basketball League of Canada. You can find Audley on Instagram at the Oddman. That's AUDMAN, not ODDMAN. So that's the Oddman, THEAUDMAN on Instagram. And as always, you can find Pod Jerky on Instagram and Twitter at Pod Jerky. You can also find all of our links on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, on Linktree. That's linktr.ee/Pod Jerky. As always, stay safe, be kind to each other, and we will see you later.